let's stay with one of those headline stories now. Are members of the African National Congress in an abusive relationship with the party? And if so, when should they call it quits? Well, that's the question posed by analyst Oscar van der Heerden, who's been with the ANC for about 13 years now. He's written a scathing article in which he says that until the party is able to accept that it's rather abusive towards its members, it won't be able to change. The reflections come after ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa described the backlash against his criticism of the massive corruption within the ANC as a campaign against him and a fight to continue with that wrongdoing. But how do ordinary members feel about what's happening within the governing party? For more on this, let's bring in Dr. Oscar van der Heerden. He's with the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflections and is a card-carrying member, so to speak, of the ANC. Dr. van der Heerden, thanks very much for your time and welcome to the AM Report. Given yesterday's virtual briefing, do you still feel that you're in an abusive relationship with the ANC?
Well, this is the thing, Ayanda. You know, once you are despondent and you are feeling down and you feel that things are not going the way it should be going, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And this is why I think a lot of us as members of the ANC stick with our partner, the ANC, because every now and again when you decide it's time for me to go, you know, you would recall prior to the 2017 Nasrec conference, a lot of members, including myself, put an ultimatum to say if things don't go the way of Cyril Ramaphosa and there's a continuation of the Zuma faction in the ANC, then many of us will walk. We will leave. That was not to be. Fortunately, Cyril won the day, even though we still have some bad, like Esma Khashula as the Secretary General. But we decided we'll stay because there's light at the end. And the same now goes with the corruption. It became, yet again, we knew all along that we are trying to fight against those hyenas, as the president called them, vultures, corona thieves, stealing even in a time of pandemics from our people. And again, we said this weekend, if the NEC does not take the appropriate and correct decisions, a lot of us will walk. And again, we saw that the ANC came out, the president came out and said that indeed we are going to deal with these corrupt elements within the organization. So there's hope again.
It certainly does feel, though, at least insofar as your recollection of the series of events, that the ANC is more reactionary than proactive to some of these concerns. But it also reminds me of comments made by Stumo Dlamini back in 2014, it must have been. He was then COSATU president, and it mentioned that it's cold outside of the ANC. Do you think that contributes to the reason why people who are continuously disgruntled still choose to remain within the governing party?
Definitely. That is a big element. A large number of people are, because of the deployment strategy of the ANC, are dependent on the ANC for their livelihoods, be it in government, be it in parastatals, and indeed be it foreign posting with DERCO. So to become too obstropolous within the ANC, you do indeed feel that there is a threat that you could jeopardize your livelihoods. And this is very unfortunate. Of course, it doesn't apply to all members. Not all ANC members are in government or are dependent on the ANC, but there is, as I say, a large number of them that think about their jobs, their livelihoods, because this can indeed be jeopardized. If you look, for example, the example of this mayor from Free State, who made racist slurs. You know, they imposed a very, very minor slap on the wrist with him, when in fact he should have lost his job as a member of the ANC in an organization that you know, sees themselves as non-racial.
But let's speak, I guess, in a bit more detail to what the president had to say yesterday, though. Drawing a line in the sand, if you want to be cynical, we've been doing that for years now. But, you know, do you feel that we have reached that turning point for the governing party, considering how strongly he spoke against this way through which corruption will be dealt with within the organization. I mean, it's quite a drastic move to send even those accused of corruption to the Integrity Commission, surely.
No, of course. I mean, you would recall, Ayanda, and your viewers would know that a very interesting analysis recently on the 14th of August was made by J.P. Landman, who's an economist and also an independent political analyst, talking about the various steps that government has done in terms of combating and fighting corruption. And there has been lots, contrary to popular opinion. The NPA, the SIU, the forfeiture unit, and so forth has been hard at work and actually reining in quite a lot of these culprits. So that was on the government side. And he concludes that analysis by saying that now it is up to the ANC to follow suit. And I think that is exactly what the president has done this weekend with the NEC, to say that though government is actively fighting and combating corruption, it is time we look internally and we draw a line in the sand, because there are a lot of people in public office that is actually also engaged in corruption, and it cannot continue. And I think that is very stern. I think that those that have been told to go to the Integrity Commission, their reputations, etc., is on the line. And I do think we are going to see some discipline being exerted, because the ANC also knows that as we go to local government election or any other forthcoming election, they are going to be dealt with a severe blow from the voters if they don't clamp on corruption.
And it's a pity, isn't it, that it has to come down to that, you know, we almost need to take stock of the cost of corruption and not act against corruption on at least a moral and ethical basis. But, you know, a big part of the reflection that were also given yesterday was this united ANC, once again, you know, really a familiar sight. We're almost forced to believe that the days leading up to the NEC meeting at the weekend weren't characterized by overt opposition to the president's leadership. Do you buy that, even as an ANC member, that, you know, the NEC has done this marvelous job of being able to look past those cracks and be truly united as they'd want South Africans to believe yesterday?
No. Look, Ayanda, we are not fools as members of the ANC. We know that there are factions in the ANC. In fact, I am quite aware that the letter that was penned by President Ramaphosa was yet again a cry for help from the members of the ANC, to say that I am fighting a fight inside the ANC, and I am constantly surrounded by these hyenas, these corona thieves, and I need help. And so by putting it out there as a tactic, he forced the National Executive Committee to support him and give him the necessary tools to be able to deal with some of these elements who are quietly sitting and plotting as to how they can avoid jail time, because they are going to go to jail. That one is very clear. So we don't buy it. We know that there is tension between the president and the secretary general. We know that there are all plans afoot to try and embarrass the president. And I think this was a very, very good move by President Ramaphosa to say that as an ANC, we will no longer endorse or turn a blind eye to these corrupt elements within our leadership.
Well, as is the case with most things to do with politics, we're just going to have to wait and see how it all pans out. Thanks very much for your time and for your reflections. I really appreciate it. That right there is Dr. Oscar van der Heerden. He's with the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflections, but is also a card-carrying member of the ANC, so to speak.